kids, I hope you've had a great week at school. Well, last week we learnt about God's miraculous rescue of Daniel's friends from the fire. So I wonder if you can guess what this week's story is about. I've got a clue here. Yeah, you guessed it. It's about Daniel in the lion's den. Now Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego were still living in Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar had actually died and there was a new king, King Darius, in place. Now this new king really liked Daniel. He found him to be a man of great intelligence, wonderful integrity. He was honest, he was trustworthy. And so King Darius wanted to appoint Daniel to the top position in the land, where he would have a lot to say about how the land was ruled. Well, there were some very, very jealous people. They did not want Daniel to be ruling over them. So they tried to find a way to find something on Daniel that they could go and tell on. They spied on him, they watched him, and they looked, but they couldn't find anything. Daniel was a really good guy, you see. The only thing they noticed was that every day, 3 times a day, Daniel would go and he would pray to the Lord God. And so suddenly, boom, it was like a light bulb went on. They had an idea. They would ask the king to make a new law, a law that would tell everybody in the land that they must pray only to King Darius. So they skipped off to the king with their new idea. And when he heard it, King Darius kind of thought about it and he thought, oh, that's not bad. Yeah, I think I'll do that. And so he went through all the process of making a new law that said everybody in the land must worship only King Darius. Well, when he heard this, Daniel was sad. He knew that to pray to anyone other than the living God was wrong. And he knew that whatever it cost him, he would continue to do that. So when the law was put in place, the people were watching these nasty, horrible men, and they watched Daniel walk off when it was time to pray. And Daniel went up to his room, he threw open the windows, he wasn't going to do it in secret, he wasn't going to hide, and he prayed, and he asked God for help. So these men were watching and they raced off to the king and they said, oh, your royal highness, correct us if we're wrong, but didn't you make a new law saying that we could only pray to you? Yes, the king confirmed. Well, they said, Daniel, your special guy, we seen him praying to his God. Well, King Darius couldn't believe it. He knew he'd been tricked. He was so sad. But he also knew he couldn't just change the law. And so he spoke to Daniel and he said, I have to do what I've said I would do. I'm going to have to throw you to the lions. So he did exactly that. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. And King Darius said to him, may the God you love so much and serve so well, may he rescue you. Well, that night, King Darius didn't sleep very well. The Bible tells us he tossed and he turned. He was so worried for his friend, for this man he'd sent to his death. And in the morning, just as the sun was coming up, he raced down to the lion's den and he called out, Daniel, Daniel, did your God save you? Can you imagine how he felt when he heard back, yes? He sent an angel to close the mouth of the lions. Isn't that the most amazing thing? The king called Daniel out and he called everyone and he said, look, they inspected him. He didn't have a single scratch on him. And he declared, King Darius, he said, from now on, you will serve the God of Daniel. He is the God who rescues. He is the true and living God. And God will continue to rescue his people. One day he would send a really mighty hero who didn't care what the cost was, like Daniel. He went to his death to rescue his people, and that was Jesus. And with Jesus and God, they pulled off the biggest rescue that this world has ever seen. So guys, I'd love you to make a lion mask this week, just to remind you that when we stand for God, we point others to Him. And that when we do the right thing, God is there with us, and He loves us, and He will give us courage, and He will help us to be brave, just like He did Daniel. All right, have a great week. Lots of love. Bye.